The city woke up slowly, like it didn't want to face itself. Morning light slipped between tall buildings and landed on the sidewalk where Thomas Gray sat with his back against a cold brick wall, counting breaths instead of minutes. Traffic hummed nearby. Coffee shops opened their doors. People hurried past with purpose in their steps. None of them looked at him. Thomas used to be one of them. Not long ago, his mornings began on the 42nd floor of a glass tower overlooking the river. He wore watches that cost more than most people's rent and spoke in a calm, controlled voice that made rooms quiet when he entered. He was a corporate lawyer, the kind companies called when they wanted problems to disappear without noise. He didn't see himself as ruthless. He saw himself as efficient. Efficiency paid well. But it also cost him everything else. His wife once told him she felt like a problem he kept postponing. His daughter learned not to interrupt his calls. Birthdays passed. Apologies became automatic and empty. Thomas believed there would be time later, when things slowed down. They never did. The mistake that ended him wasn't dramatic. It was a document he signed without reading closely, trusting a junior associate who trusted someone else. The deal crossed a legal line thin enough to ignore but strong enough to snap back hard. When the investigation started, Thomas assumed it would be managed. He had managed worse. This time, the system didn't protect him. Clients withdrew. His firm cut him loose quietly. Licenses were suspended pending review. Friends stopped calling. His savings vanished into legal fees and silence. The apartment emptied, piece by piece, until the echo was louder than his thoughts. When he finally locked the door for the last time, he stood there longer than necessary, hoping someone might stop him. No one did. The street was not cruel at first. It was indifferent. Hunger arrived before fear. Cold followed soon after. Thomas learned that dignity doesn't vanish all at once. It peels away layer by layer, every time you ask for help and don't get it, every time you're treated like part of the scenery. Nights were the hardest. Darkness made thoughts louder. Regret replayed itself with sharp clarity. He thought about his daughter's voice, how it used to sound when she laughed without checking if he was busy. That was when he met Clara. She was older than him, her hair streaked with gray, her hands rough from years of cleaning offices after hours. She slept in a shelter when there was space, outside when there wasn't. She carried herself with a quiet strength that came from surviving too long to expect miracles. Clara noticed Thomas because he still flinched at sirens. Because he still tried to sit straight, like posture could protect him. She offered him half a sandwich one evening without ceremony. "You'll feel it less if you eat slow," she said. They didn't trade life stories. They traded small truths. Where to get warm. Which places were safe. Which days the soup kitchen served extra bread. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they watched the city breathe and said nothing at all. Weeks passed. Then months. Thomas learned how kindness worked on the street. It wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It showed up quietly and left before you could thank it properly. Clara never made him feel like a charity case. She treated him like a man who had fallen, not a man who was finished. One night, Clara didn't show up. Thomas waited. The night grew colder. Fear crept in. The next morning, he found her sitting near the shelter steps, shaking, her face pale. She had collapsed at work. No insurance. No job now. The shelter warned her space wasn't guaranteed. Thomas felt something break open inside him. He reached out to the one person he had avoided contacting out of shame. An old colleague who remembered his skill more than his failure. The work offered was small, temporary, and anonymous. No courtroom. No spotlight. Just document review. Long hours. Low pay. Thomas accepted immediately. He didn't leave Clara behind. He paid for her medication before he paid for a room. He stayed on the street until she was stable, until the shelter gave her a permanent spot. When he finally slept indoors again, the ceiling felt unfamiliar. The silence felt earned. Months later, Thomas stood outside a courthouse he no longer belonged to. He didn't feel anger. He felt clarity. Success had once insulated him from pain, from people, from himself. Losing everything stripped that away. He understood now that wealth wasn't power. It was distance. And the richest thing he had gained was learning how close two people could be when neither had anything to offer but presence. The city kept moving. It always did. But Thomas moved differently now, carrying a quiet dignity no title had ever given him, knowing at last what truly mattered.